Hi, everybody. I'm so excited. I'm here with Andre,
Hi, everybody.
our man about town.
Yeah, about town, about my office.
Him and I were just talking about, first of all, as you guys know, I did an earlier video saying that they would not do Meadows. They would not give him a break, that he had to appear in Georgia. And you had said that you had been looking at his chart. So go ahead and tell, because I wanted you to repeat it for everybody about the Libra thing.
Yeah, first of all, great call. You called it well. I was telling you that I kept thinking you got to do a video on this because I would hear these pundits saying that he was the one with the best chance to get what he was trying to do, get this thing moved to the federal court. And I would look at his chart, and he's got all these planets in early Virgo, and Saturn is in there pressuring, and he's got another part of the chart being pressured. And I kept thinking, this doesn't work. This is the kind of thing where you get turned down, which is what happened. So I missed the chance to, sound all smart by predicting it beforehand. But I, I was quite sure that this wasn't going to go anywhere. And then what's even better is that now the thinking is this means since he had the best chance, the other people basically have zero chance, because they're all implicated. They're all, doing crimes in Georgia, which is what Fani is charging them with.
Right.
And so, as an example, you may have heard Giuliani too. Giuliani was making the rounds, explaining in great detail he's going to challenge it, he's going to get it moved to federal court, and then he's going to try to dismiss it. It's like they live in this made-up world. None of that is going to happen, and he's one of the worst around being
No, you've always
implicated.
said that.
Yeah, and he apparently is down to his last major asset with all these bills to pay. So now the next thing, think about it. There are the 19 people charged. How long will it take for them to start flipping and start realizing that Trump isn't going to save them?
No. Now,
So
Trump
then,
had that party at $100,000 a plate. They didn't talk about the party anywhere, but I had a feeling that a lot of people didn't pay $100,000.
well, or they didn't show up. I mean, when you don't hear about the party, it's probably bad news because you probably want to brag about that.
Yeah,
But even if you got a whole bunch of people, there's not enough money to cover the mountain of legal expenses that these people are running into. And so Giuliani is totally hosed. He's completely
right.
hosed. And the people below there, they're not getting any money. Jenna Ellis and different people that are charged. And how long is it going to be before they realize this guy doesn't care? So I got to look out for myself.
Right, right.
Yeah.
So, also Jim Jordan, and you said you hadn't really worked on him yet or done.
No, Jim Jordan. Okay, so there's no time of birth. There's only a day of birth. Even so, it's got the feeling of you can't take the guy out. People that are thinking because he's doing this and he's doing that, it's all garbage, of course. He's trying to harass Fonnie Willis. Before that, he was harassing. Remember that? Who was it before that? Alvin Bragg. Same thing. Alvin Bragg told him to take a hike, and Fonnie Willis told him to take another hike. And so he'll do other things, mostly ineffectual. They go nowhere. But what you can see that's interesting is that post-election, that chart is under a lot of stress.
Yeah, you were saying.
So that, that you kind of, between the lines, that looks like they're going to lose the House because then he loses his power and he spends time instead of being up front and making noise, then he has to make noise in the background and useless
Right,
noise because it won't
because
do anything.
yeah,
Yeah,
I love that
yeah.
part where you said you had looked, and it doesn't look like they're going to keep the house based on his chart.
Based on his chart, yeah. It's an example. Though astrology is like that. You're always comparing charts, and then you start to notice when charts point in a direction. Remember, I said to you that this guy Jordan, his chart looks a lot like Putin's. A lot of planets in the cardinal area getting hit by Saturn. So if you're making plans before that thinking this is going to solve your problem. No, it's not going to solve your problem. It's going to make your problem worse, right? This is actually, any astrologer would have told Giuliani in 2020, are you sure you want to do this? Because this thing gets really dicey.
Yeah.
So, he thought, oh, I can just break the law in 10 different ways. No one's going to do anything. Well, they are. They're doing it, So,
Oh my gosh.
big problem.
And the other thing that you and I were talking about before we started film, I said, we should gotta film this. about the polls.
The polls, yeah, the polls,
And how I
famous
found
polls.
out that poor Fani tried to get all that information that was on the internet. She talked to the DOJ and the FBI. They couldn't take it off because it originated from Russia.
Correct. Yeah, yeah. Russia's in the middle of everything, and it's pretty clear. It's pretty
And an
clear.
article just came out that apparently some of these polls that are saying Trump is ahead or close to Biden are paid for by Trump.
You know, it wouldn't surprise me. I know I heard one where they came out even 48-48 or 47-47. You know, 48-48 already sounds suspicious because Trump never gets 48. Trump's
Right.
absolute ceiling is 46. So I'm already skeptical there. But first of all, they're national polls. Keep that in mind. A national poll tells you nothing because the election is decided in 7 states. It doesn't matter everywhere else. You can poll the entire country. Who cares what someone in Kansas says or someone in California? They don't matter. They're nothing. The places you want are the battlegrounds, right? The other thing is that polls now, they don't mean much. If you go back at prior elections, you get all kinds of wild things. Obama was nowhere battling Hillary in 2007 when they were taking polls. You can go back to all kinds of elections. Clinton in '96 with Bob Dole, in the '80s with George H.W. Bush. The polls then don't reflect anything because people are not yet serious about who they're going to vote for. Right now, there's a group of Democrats that are not happy with Biden. You know, Biden is too old in this. Like, who do you want? Do you want Biden or you want the other guy? That's when the question is going to be. Where is your choice, right? Show me the 2 items on the menu, right? And who is there on the Republican side they can put up there? You know, that isn't going to scare Democrats into voting en masse. And how do they get above 46%? Trump, certainly not. He never does.
Yeah.
At 46, he peaks, right?
Right. And, you know, there's so much crap going on him. But, you know, there's just people that like crazy. There really are. There's people that want the whole thing blown up. They don't care.
It's true. It's true. And the problem is that they're being assisted by their media ecosphere because it's just the era we're in where people stay in their silos. Like, I'll admit, I don't watch Fox News that often. I watch clips, but I can't, you know, if I don't want to go into a rage. I don't want to get mad by watching, you know, Hannity for a whole hour just spouting nonsense, right? So, you know, I watch clips, but there are a lot of these people that spend their entire day watching Fox, OAN, you know, consuming total garbage, invented points of view. So that's why they're kept in that mode of thinking, but their numbers are a problem. I continue to say this. You know, not to mention, by the way, that I mean, at the moment, the main problem is Trump. Trump's chart. I mean, I wouldn't want that chart. Are you kidding me? That chart going into next year.
Yeah.
It is a hellscape, you know, and it's building that way. I mean, what do you do when you've got to go to court? You know, what happens if they start televising the Georgia trial because some people want to go early? We'll see if he lets them go. What happens if that shows up on TV? He doesn't want that on TV. By the way, did you hear him say that I'm going to testify? He'll never testify.
Oh, he always says that.
Yeah.
I got no problem like with Mueller. I have no problem. Yeah, he does.
Yeah. Well, I believe that one of his lawyers at the time said to him, if you testify, if you go to Mueller to testify, you'll be in a jumpsuit the next day, in an orange jumpsuit the next day. That's how worried they were.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you can't testify and start talking about.
Well, he must have Neptune all over him because he's so delusional. Yeah. He actually thinks he can talk his way in and out of things.
Yeah, you're learning your astrology. That's good. Yeah, Neptune. Yeah, delusional. He does Neptune, delusional, disinformation, gaslighting, lying. I mean, the man is like a lying machine. It's just, you know, whatever pops into his mind to counter the, you know, whatever's happening in that moment.
I think that you're right, though. I never thought of that. I think the fact it's going to be televised is the part that they hate the most.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. You know, and you know, by the way, we were saying before you and I were talking how you know, you got to look at the whole scenario and look at how many things are going well for this guy versus how many things are not going well. So we're getting one minor thing, like some judge will say, "Oh no, you can't." 14th Amendment. No, no, we're not going to do that. And then he gets 10 or 12 things bad, 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 like E. Jean
Yeah.
Carroll bad, Mark Meadows bad. There's a constant slew, turned down one, time after other. So this is telling you that the flow is really negative. And people have this idea this guy is like a magic man and he's going to escape.
It used to be.
He used to be, yeah, yeah. Lots of things, used to be, and then they're not anymore.
Well, you talked, that's why I loved having you. Then the first time I met you and we had a show, you said the guy looks like he just Teflon, like he gets away. But mark my words, I think you said August of this year, you're going to start seeing
Yeah.
boom, boom, boom.
It's true. It's true the whole year. In fact, one of the things that is especially bad, I remember saying the spring it would start and then August would get worse, but I didn't think it would be as bad as it was because I figured, okay, so Saturn is in early Pisces in 23. So I thought, okay, it'll be bad, but not as bad as it's been. So this means later when it gets on his planet is even worse. It's foretelling a real problem. And it extends beyond the election, by the way. This guy's got years of problems, right?
Yeah.
So, because the next sign that it goes to when Saturn gets out of Pisces, it's even worse.
I know.
He hates that part of the chart even more than where it is now. And where it is
Right.
now is bad, bad, bad. And remember, we keep saying this. This is not just the politics. He is at major health risk. It's very ironic that people keep pointing to Biden. Biden, he could die at any moment. It's Trump that is more at risk of that
Yeah.
based on his chart.
Based on his chart.
Yeah.
Hey, did you ever look at Eastman or Grassley?
Eastman, Grassley, I can't remember. Eastman, yeah, Eastman is in trouble. Eastman's chart.
Because they're saying Fire Queen said Eastman's testimony appeared to implicate Grassley. Any chance you could look at Grassley, but you haven't looked at him.
No, I haven't looked at Grassley in a while. I think I did a while back, but Eastman is like the other guy, Jeffrey Clark. That whole gang of thieves. They've all got problems, rightfully so, because they were committing crimes. Now they're pretending that they weren't crimes. But it's interesting. I don't know if you noticed that there were clips of Eastman on Fox trying to explain to Laura Ingraham that what he had done was correct, and she started saying, "Well, I don't know about that," because now Fox is scared of getting sued. So he said at one point, "Everybody knows that it was illegal," and she said, "Well, not everybody. I don't think it was everybody." Where before they would have agreed.
Trump said that?
Yeah, well, yeah. Yeah.
Whoa.
That caught me by surprise because now, see, they realize now that it gets expensive. This kind of thing gets expensive because I think what they weren't counting on is the system is a capitalist democracy, which means people can make money from lawsuits. Ask Giuliani about that with Shea Moss and Ruby Freeman. He's already lost that. They were saying today that he lost it, but the judge just called it. He said, okay, you've lost, because he wouldn't produce any discovery because he's scared that if he produces discovery, he'll reveal too many things that he doesn't want to reveal. But what does that tell you? That tells you he's a crook, right? Because if you have the truth on your side, present what you have. It's not that
But
complicated.
because he didn't present it, the judge just said, you're guilty.
You're guilty, yeah. But now he's got to pay, right? And so that's how much is that going to be? That might be $5 million. That's the whole apartment that he just sold. How is he going to pay his legal bills? It's really complicated, and these guys, the idea that Trump is going to help you, he's not going to help you. He doesn't care about you. He doesn't
No.
care about anybody. No, absolutely not. No.
That's like when I worked as a nurse, hospitals had to be very careful, like fetal strips. If the fetal strip disappeared, then you were guilty. The hospital was liable. Because
Really?
if you don't chart it, like you chart everything you do. Because if it isn't charted, it wasn't done. You can't come back and say, oh, I remember doing that, I just forgot to chart it. If you didn't chart, you had to have proof. And sometimes hospitals would be underhanded and accidentally throw away the fetal strips. They're guilty. They'd have to pay huge.
Yeah, you can't destroy evidence and you can't hide evidence. But this has been the thing all along with these guys, the whole crew. They keep saying, this is like the ultimate gaslighting. You tell people there is this incredible evidence that never appears.
Right.
Never appears. No one ever sees.
Oh yeah, where's the proof? Where's the proof?
Where's the proof?
meat?
Yeah, exactly. Where's the beef? Call it what you like. No one ever sees it, but then they have the gall to go on TV and say everybody was saying this. No, they weren't. Actually, Laura was correct there. Not everybody. Some people were. Fox was too. She should have said we were, to our great chagrin, because then we got hit with a big lawsuit for saying it, right? Because they were
Right.
saying things like, Dominion this and whatever, all that stuff,
Oh,
Smartmatic.
Trump with everybody say he always says it. Everybody's saying it. Ask
Yeah,
anybody. It's like,
yeah,
what?
yeah. No, and
Who's
see, this is.
everybody?
I mean, the problem now is that in comparison to the Nixon years, there are separate news feeds. So that's why these guys don't worry. A guy like Lindsey Graham, in the old style politics, he would have been thrown out by now based on what he's done. But he can stay on his channel. He doesn't go talk to MSNBC, to Rachel Maddow. That would be crazy because he would ask him, the right questions. He goes
Right.
where they ask him soft questions, and so he stays in power, right? But by the way, he's not clear yet. That guy, not yet. He thinks he is. He made a statement. You know what he said? He said, "If this happens again next year, I would do the same thing again." You may not get to next year, buddy, because there's other
Oh, you
stuff
looked at
still.
his chart?
Yeah, and it's not over yet. He's still vulnerable in 2024 to other
Okay.
problems. So, like, how does he know that Jack Smith won't charge him? How does he know any of that, right? It's amazing how careless these guys are. The best thing they could do is keep their mouth shut, but no, they keep talking. They keep opening their
I
mouth.
still see Michael Flynn in trouble.
Yeah, that's another one.
And that might be Jack Smith that has that.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, can you imagine? Can you imagine that guy? He went to the January 6th committee, an ex-general of the U.S. Army, and he was asked, "Do you think it was morally correct to attack the Capitol on January 6th?" And he said, "I take the fifth." I mean, how about no? Yeah, it's not morally correct. How about that? No, I mean,
No, he takes the fifth.
it's like these guys know that they've done something. Because why would you go there and you take the fifth on everything? Because you're
Oh,
scared
that
that, yeah, it's, it's,
they
it's,
said
it's
all that Navarro had to do was plead the fifth, show up and plead the fifth, but he
well, yeah, that's true. But okay, Navarro, there's another example. Navarro apparently has a Harvard degree. That's a scary thought. It's a
I
scary thought
didn't know
because,
that.
yeah, he has a Harvard degree in economics, I think. No, it's not. It's not in common sense. I'll tell you that. It's not a degree in common sense because that's right. All he had to do was show up and say, "I plead the fifth or whatever." Instead, he ends up in this situation for no reason. So does Steve Bannon too. That's another one. They're both likely going to do jail time. All they had to do was show up and say, or even say this thing about executive privilege, which is BS. It's completely made up. There's no such thing.
Well, he
But
tried to hold on to executive privilege.
right, right, yeah. But I don't know if you saw that clip with the all those protesters. That was pretty funny. There were these young women holding signs and
Blowing the whistle.
taunting Navarro. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that was
hilarious.
funny. So have you taken a look-see at Judge Janet in Wisconsin?
At who? No, I haven't. Haven't yet. No,
Okay.
that's it. That's one I got to check out. But the thing with that one is that my feeling about that is that by them doing this in Wisconsin, they make it more likely they will lose the state in the general election because whenever you do something where this judge is linked to women's issues, she's there because women were alarmed in Wisconsin and they voted in large numbers. What you're doing is you're asking them to come out again. They'll just
Vote
watch.
her out because she was voted in.
Exactly.
And they're taking away these women's voices because she was voted in.
Exactly.
They're going to excommunicate her. They're going to leave her there because if they excommunicate her, the Democratic governor can put another Democrat in there.
Well, the thing is, they should be thinking. They're not thinking clearly because
No.
all it takes is Wisconsin. Wisconsin is one of those magic states. Wisconsin, Michigan, Pennsylvania, Nevada, Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia. You lose one of those, and you lose the election. They got to win them all. So figure it out. Don't be doing things that cause people to, like Michigan is the same way. Michigan now is very hostile because women have gotten together, right? This is the other thing. Trump will never see, I'm telling you, the end of women attacking him. I mean, don't you notice? I mean, you turn on the TV, Fannie Willis, then you see another woman judge. Then you see, it just keeps varying. The only one is Eileen Cannon. We'll see about her, right? Whether she gets bounced. I can't tell yet whether she'll be thrown out. Do you feel anything like that about her?
Yeah, well, you know what? They got someone who turned their witness, the DOJ's witness, and it's
Yes.
going to give them everything they need
Yeah.
about how he was told to destroy records. And there's nothing Aileen can do about it. Not a thing.
Yeah, they asked Chris Christie, because Chris Christie used to be a prosecutor, and they said, well, what do you think about this guy, Tavares, who turned, he's now give, and he said, well, Donald Trump is going to start attacking him viciously on, putting messages, his family, all this. And he said, and at night, he'll be looking at the ceiling, trying to remember what he said to this guy in the past to see if he can figure out, because he knows it's a big problem. It's a big problem. That's another thing, by the way, that is in Trump's chart. I remember saying this in 2020, 2017, all along. He's got this situation where people that are servants, allies, turn into enemies. And you're seeing them all one by one. We've seen many anyway. But in these crucial moments when there are trials where a person is going to think, well, if I do this, what's going to happen to me? That's what this guy did. He thought about it, and you notice when he got a lawyer that wasn't a Trump lawyer, the lawyer immediately said to him, you should bail, get out, right?
Work with them, yeah.
Exactly. So the more of these people, the more dangerous it gets, because you start to build cases that are open.
Well, that's like how many people got indicted? 18, 19 people?
19.
A good chunk of those people they can't afford the fees. So
No.
they're just going to black.
Yeah. Well, they can't afford the fees, and can they afford the jail time? That's the
Yeah.
other question, right? Because if you start thinking, really, any time in jail, a person like Jenna Ellis, she's looking at her whole career destroyed. They'll probably disbar her. She might have to spend time in jail. It doesn't just ruin you a little bit. When something like that happens, it's a major thing. It's like what's happened to these guys that went to jail for assaulting the Capitol. That's not worth it. It's just not, even if you only get 60 days, you get a criminal record, it follows you everywhere. Like when you try to go to travel somewhere and you get those questions, have you ever been convicted? If you say no to that and you get caught with that, that's even worse. It's just a nightmare. So don't break the law. That's basically the advice.
That guy that just got 23 years, they tried to give him a deal.
Yeah, they did, but they didn't take it.
And he got his nose up in the air. Let me tell you though, this. Part of the reason a lot of the Proud Boys and all these guys, they're thinking Trump will get in there and he'll pardon all of us.
Yes, I know.
Putin is looking so forward, hoping that Trump gets in there, because then he can now own Ukraine.
Mm-hmm.
That's why they're desperately working on that end to see what they can do to help Trump. They can't get in there as good as they did while Trump was in there.
Of course.
I'm surprised Trump lost, even though Putin was in the White House.
You mean in 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, but that, by the way, that answers a question. I've said this a number of times that people always tell me, oh, Trump is really lucky. No, he's not. Trump, if he were really lucky, wouldn't have had a pandemic happen to him in the last year of his presidency, for one. And for two, he lost by 7 million votes, but it was really close in the final tally. All he needed was about 25,000 people to go the other way, and he could have won that election in a fluky way, the way he won in 2016. So he's not that lucky. I'm sorry, No, I mean, I'm not buying that. It's because if he were lucky, he would have cruised into 2020, no problem, get elected.
And he thought that was going to happen.
Yeah, he did. He thought a lot of things. I know.
So you just looked up Grassley?
Yeah, I just looked at Grassley, and he, again, no time, just their birth. Thing is, you were saying that he just won a term, so he would have won a term in the
last one in
22. So by the rule of the 6 years, that would take him into 2028. But he's got a pretty serious bump next year and the year after, because he's got a cluster of planets in Virgo, and that's where Saturn opposes. And he's 89 years old. Saturn tends to be quite a bit rougher on you. The older you are, there's a lot more risk of health problems, and including that something along the lines of what you were mentioning can also catch fire. When you've got harsh energy, you can get implicated in something that you did. And this guy is one of the worst for making up stuff. He'll just, and he goes on TV and admits, no, we don't care that there's no evidence. We just want to be able to say it. He's actually
Yeah.
made that statement. Yeah, yeah. So quite incredible.
Who was the other person I wanted? Nancy Pelosi said she's going to run again, and I think she'll win. And she's in her 80s too.
Yeah, it's just that this is the thing, right? Nancy Pelosi and Bernie Sanders, I think they're both older than Biden, but they both appear to be younger than Biden.
Yeah.
Biden is betrayed by his look is older than it should be, even though I gotta say it's one of the most unfair things that particularly my fellow Democrats not supporting this guy, he's achieved a ton. It is difficult to do what he's done. I mean, for someone that is sleepy and out to lunch, he seems to know exactly what to do
He's
every time
doing
something
more.
important.
Where is he, in India or something right now? He's doing more than I could ever do.
No, and he's passed major legislation. He's really on top of it. He managed the European situation really well, all kinds of things. And yet people say, oh, he shouldn't be there. And, who are you going to put there? Someone who's going to do a worse job. And what's the point of that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
no loyalty.
I still think he's going to win. That's my opinion.
Yeah, no, his chart is fine. It's not a perfect chart, but especially compared to Trump's, it's not even close. No way. No,
Yeah.
it's much, much better.
Yeah, but it's terrible because if I want to put the news on just to catch up on some stuff, the minute they start doing those polls, I turn it off.
Yeah, well, I mean, in a way, everything is a learning experience because, this is the short memory, right? Someone who's been doing politics for a long time, they can spot these patterns and they will say, no, I've seen this before. These polls really fool you the year before. Or other things like I heard this Republican person who is a more moderate, someone who's anti-Trump, and he said, this idea of impeaching Biden is one of the dumbest ideas you can imagine because it causes problems for the party that does that. He's very familiar with the mechanics and the dynamics, so he's saying they shouldn't be doing it, but they're kind of desperate. I don't think it'll happen, by the way, because they don't have enough votes to pull it off.
Right. Have you taken a look at Mitch McConnell lately?
Yeah, Mitch McConnell he's in danger until at least the new year, at least. It's serious danger. He shouldn't be working. If he were smart, he should take some time off. These guys never take time off, but the problem is, if you've had something like he's had, and it's obviously pretty serious, because it happened in the spring when the planet switched, and now October, November, December, it's extra strong. That you're asking for trouble. That's all I'll say. He should be backing off and healing instead of continuously driving, right? But it doesn't look like he'll do that. And by the way, the problems keep mounting because the people in the House are crazy. They don't listen to him, right? So, and then he's got that other jackass, Tuberville. That's another one that I don't have a time for. I wish I had a chart. But he's another problem because he keeps putting a stop on the military assignments. Again, none of this is good for the country.
No, and the other countries like Putin and North Korea and stuff, they love it.
Yeah, they love it, it's true. But, even so, who are you going to still put your money on? Do you want to put your money on North Korea and Russia or on the US or even China? Where's the logic?
No, but I can't help but wonder if the military is going to do something to them.
I don't know. I wish they would, but I don't think it's.
It feels like he'll have to exit, is what I'm getting.
Who's this?
Tuberville.
Yeah, I would say sooner than later, yes. But for now,
Or they might even the president has to do something, executive order of something, and just say enough. Because it is really bad, and he's depleting the country. And how could one person create all this chaos?
Well, this is where, though, in this period of time, we're really seeing how people that are indecent and unfair and just horrible people, they take advantage of things that are not solidly laws. They're just, you're expected to be a decent human being. Well, they've lost that. So then they keep breaking the rules and they cause all these problems. So democracy, you can't go after people with the same way that someone like Putin. Putin will throw you out a balcony window and then say, "Oh, I don't know what happened," right? But here, you have to go through a process because think of Elon Musk. That's another one, another crook. He, now he's become a basically like a Nazi because he's helping all the fascists everywhere. He blocked the Ukrainians. He's got a satellite, and he stopped the Ukrainians from using it at a key moment. But that's something really serious that is happening over there. And if you're in a country with a dictator, they'll come and knock on your door and put you in jail if you try something like that because you're interfering with a
Well,
country.
apparently he could be up on charges for that.
Well, I wish because
They need to do something.
that's like national security. He's another one though. Elon Musk is another one whose chart suspiciously turns rougher after the election. Why? Well, we'll see, right? But he's kind of walking himself into it.
Yeah.
Twitter is descending into, it's turning into a Nazi, right wing slugfest. A lot of people are leaving. They don't want to be there anymore because they horrible stuff. So, and he continues to do the same thing. I don't know. And then
he's Asperger's or something. He really thinks he's all that in a cup of tea.
No, I guess there's
It's
something
all
there.
about him. Yeah.
I mean,
He's
it's
really
inexplicable.
smart, but he's an idiot at the same time. It's really weird.
I know. You always got to ask yourself, anyone that voted for Obama, there's no possible way you could vote for Obama and turn to this because he was an Obama supporter. So was Carrie Lake. How do you explain Carrie Lake?
I know.
How? How do you go from that to this?
I know.
It's like they've gone mad. They've gone totally mad.
Oh.
I mean, if you went from Romney to this, okay, maybe I could excuse it, sort of, but yeah.
Okay, we have Linda. She wants to know what the significance of kite progressed in chart. Grand trine in Earth, Sun, Pluto, and Uranus with Sun opposite Pisces.
Wait, you said progressed?
Progressed in chart. I would like to know significance of KITE, progressed in chart. What's KITE?
Kite. It's a formation. So it sounds like the person spotted a kite in progression that is not there at the birth chart. So it's sometime after, in some years after. That would tell you that those years have special significance. Something important is happening in their life. But it's not just 1 year. It's usually 3 or 4 because the kite will form and it's not like it's when it's perfect, exact.
Yeah.
In the build up and on the other side. So there's a swath of time there that becomes a lot more meaningful, and you have to figure out where the houses are and all that. A kite basically links a lot of planets together, right? So then you get something unusual happening around that time.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's going on? Everything's still reversed right now or retrograde?
Oh, yeah, no, the retrogrades, I think what's happening with the retrogrades is people are always focusing on when they're retrograde. What's important is when they go direct. So these Venus and Mercury, Venus already went direct. So now we're seeing, for instance, some developments like we were waiting. What are they going to say to Meadows? Boom, they said something. No, you can't have it. Then Mercury goes direct middle of the month, a little more. And then early October, they're fully out of that shadow period, fully out. Also, Pluto goes direct in October. So that's now a lot of direct energy. That's when things start to move. Things start to open up and you get more clarity. When they're in retrograde, you have these arguments. Should we do this? I'm filing a motion. The judge is studying it. There's a delay, basically, right? But
right.
So look to next month for things really starting to move between, by mid-month especially, but even by fairly early in the month, because they come out of their retrograde.
So, people were asking, somebody just asked you about Hurricane Lee, but you don't really do hurricanes. But really. I will tell you my prediction. I had this weird vision when I asked about Hurricane Lee. I saw a dinosaur and the tail went boom, like it hit the United States, the tail. And what I'm feeling is, you know how you see in those movies, Jurassic Park and all that, you know how you see the dinosaur, it will hit somebody with a tail and it'll kill them, you know. I feel like it's going to get pretty close, and then something with the tail end actually hitting the East Coast up in the north, all the way up to what is it, Halifax?
You
Boom.
mean up in Canada? All the way
All
up
the way
there?
up, it's going up to Canada, towards Canada, and they
Oh.
even said Bangor, Maine. I even feel some problems with New York, because it could be, you know, there's huge waves right now. It's moving like crazy, but it'll get colder as it goes north, and there's a trough coming out that's going to help bounce it to the other direction. But they don't know if it's going to come on in time. But so when I asked what's going to happen with Hurricane Lee, I didn't necessarily see a direct hit, but I saw the tail, like the dinosaur tail. And the tail, just the tail. Listen, Hawaii suffered from a hurricane that never went through Hawaii, but it was the tail end of it that.
Tail end. So it could still do some serious damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, let's hope not, because it's so rough on those poor people that
Oh, I know.
that lose their property and.
Oh, and you know, there's a couple more storms coming, but the heat wave is finally ending. Thank goodness.
True enough. Yeah. For that we have to be
my
thankful.
friend, I'll let you go because it's a Friday night. I know you and your wife are getting ready to hit the dance floor.
Yeah, that's it.
That's it. That's what you're doing.
That's what's
Getting
happening.
ready to go party as he gets his slippers on and goes in the other room and watches TV.
That's exactly what's happening. Yep.
That's me too. I'll be going, turning my TV on.
Yeah.
All right. So next week, hopefully we'll have some more gossip, some more hot information.
Absolutely. Next week it is. Bye, everyone.
Okay. Bye, everyone. Good to see you all.